And welcome back to Ozarks Live. I got to sit down with John Sellers, the executive director of the History Museum on the Square, to learn more about the place we call home.
Yep, so buckle up and get ready for another history lesson from Mr. Sellers. Take a listen.
Part of history is not only things that happen, it's the people that make those things happen. And there's really an interesting person who is part of Springfield history, and he was a prolific inventor, creator. As a matter of fact, you may use things that he invented or offshoots of those things to this day. I've got John Sellers here, and I'm at History Museum on the Square. Good to see you again,
Good
John.
to see you.
Let's talk about this, because earlier we were talking about this, and this man, prolific, I guess, is a good word.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
He was an amazing guy. He worked in a bicycle shop on Jefferson Street, but his mind and his vision was extraordinary. He has over 20 patents with the U.S. government, and at a time when people were just in the turn of the 20th century, just kind of getting going, he built an automobile and drove it across the square, and as they said in the newspaper at the time, at the breakneck speed of 7 miles an hour.
So he's also a speed demon.
Yes, speed demon. Walter Majors was an extraordinary man. You couldn't make up all of the skills and all the interests he had. But some of the patents, when you
name a few of the things
when you look at his patents, I mean, here's a patent. That's for a hairdryer.
A hairdryer.
A hairdryer.
So he builds automobiles, and one thing you said, this is very interesting to me. This isn't something that you can come off of another invention. He's really going from scratch on these things.
Oh my goodness, yeah. And just coming up with the concepts that were later taken and developed into the portable hairdryer that you see, used today. And you got a hairdryer. Here's a good one. He invented the taxi cab meter.
You mean when they flip the flag, that thing?
Yeah.
So in all actuality, the taxi cab meter comes out of Springfield. Someone who was in Springfield, Missouri.
At a point in time.
Right.
He after he moved. Most of his inventing was done after he moved to St. Louis. He moved to St. Louis. He and his wife. She had a school, a beauty school. A beauty college for African American women in St. Louis, and he had a school for auto mechanics, and just very interested in the community. Very involved in the city of St. Louis, but a sad loss for us.
Sure.
But a wonderful loss for St. Louis and that community, and an amazing inventor.
But you have to think about it. If he was here, part of his formative years and his learning process, his work ethic, kind of established here in Springfield.
Exactly, because even when he, in the car, he was a grown adult. He was working in a bicycle shop on Jefferson Street. Yeah.
And you mentioned one other thing, an anti-skid device.
He invented an anti-skid device to keep the wheels from spinning the car out when you apply the brakes. All the brakes at that time were mechanical. There was no hydraulic assist to them.
Right.
So you had to really step down on them, and a lot of times, if it was slick in some way, the vehicle would skid, and he came up with some interaction in that kept the wheels from skidding.
That's kind of a precursor to what anti-lock brakes do now.
Exactly.
They keep you on the straight. So what we're saying is, this gentleman, Mr. Majors, he is, I wasn't kidding, things that he came up with are things we actually use today.
Over 100 years later.
A derivative of it.
Absolutely.
And this is just one of the fascinating people you can find out about right here at the museum.
At the History Museum on the Square.
Hey,
that's where we are.
If people want to know more about the History Museum, how do they find out?
They go online, historymuseumonthesquare.org, or look at our Facebook page, History Museum on the Square, or you can give us a call here at 417-831-1976. We'll be glad to hear from you and have you come in and see us.
All right, History Museum on the Square. You never know what or who you might find here.